Hello, my friends. Welcome here. Let's talk about life when you are misdiagnosed. Chronic illness is tricky because we feel lots of symptoms and a lot of chronic illnesses overlap in those symptoms. If you are like me and you live with multiple chronic illnesses or you have a lot of different symptoms and you've been to doctors and they don't know what's wrong with you, chances are you may have been misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. I want to talk about my misdiagnosis story, and I want to talk about what we can do about it. I was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia. I have POTS, EDS, and Lyme disease. For a long time, I was told we don't know what's wrong with you, or nothing's wrong with you, or all your testing is coming back normal. And so I had a doctor finally say, okay, let's test you for fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain disorder characterized by widespread pain and fatigue, which I was having. He did the fibromyalgia test, which really isn't a very good test. It's not like a blood test. It is very subjective according to what the doctor and you feel. Regardless, he did the test and there's all these pressure points that he would push. I did not get enough of those pressure points to have that test confirm fibromyalgia, but the doctor said, we don't know what else is wrong with you, so I'm still going to diagnose you with fibromyalgia. At that time, I remember feeling confused. Part of me felt relief. Maybe we figured out what was wrong. A bigger part of me felt it didn't feel right. Not only because of the way I was diagnosed, which was, we don't know what's wrong, so we're going to call it fibromyalgia, but also when I did research on fibromyalgia, it just didn't seem to fully fit what I was going through, even though I had all the symptoms of fibromyalgia. Why does this still not feel right to me? My gut told me this is not right, but I didn't know what else to do because I had been tested for what felt like everything at that point, and no one really knew what it was. I remember feeling unsure if I should tell people that I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia because it didn't feel right. I know a lot of people now because I run a community for people who live chronically ill, and it's linked down below if you want to join. It's only $9 a month. We meet on Zoom and talk to each other, but there's a lot of people in there who have fibromyalgia. And now I talk to them and I see we have so many similarities in our lives and pains, yet I feel we have different illnesses. Later in my story, I was diagnosed with POTS, which makes sense because blood work would come back normal, but my blood circulation was not normal. The same with my EDS diagnosis. It was not something that can come up on a blood test. I think the reason these things are so hard to get diagnosed with is because of the overlapping symptoms. They mimic a lot of other conditions. And I know POTS and EDS are not the only things that do that, but a lot of these conditions cause fatigue. They cause pain in different places. They cause achiness. A lot of doctors don't know what to do with these zebra illnesses, as they are called. If you haven't heard, doctors look for horses. If you hear something that looks like a horse, that sounds like a horse, the doctors say that's probably a horse. But a zebra looks like a horse, it sounds like a horse, but it is not a horse. Doctors often go to the more common things, the things they know more about, and these zebra cases often end up being misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. If you're going through that, I'm so sorry. It is such a mix of emotions, and unfortunately, it is so common. If you don't feel right about your diagnosis or haven't been diagnosed yet, trust your gut. Trust yourself. Now, I have to take a step back and say, Amy, is this anxiety? Or my gut telling me this isn't right? I deal with a lot of anxiety and worry. Sometimes that can creep in. What if it's something more serious? Make sure you understand yourself, dive into those emotions. If your gut tells you this doesn't feel right, or the research you do doesn't feel right, our bodies know when something is off. Keep fighting if you feel like this is not the right diagnosis. The other thing I recommend is doing your research. I found POTS on my own. I found EDS because of you guys, but no doctor told me about POTS. No doctor tested me for POTS until I said, hey, I think I have POTS. But I recommend listening to people's stories here on YouTube, maybe looking up different conditions that have similar symptoms to what you're going through, listen to their stories, because hearing from people who've actually gone through it was what really helped me see this is what is wrong with me. Avoid misinformation traps because those definitely can come up when you are doing research. Do research with websites that you can trust. Listen to other people's stories who are dealing with it, people who you can tell are being authentic and real. My next tip is to be assertive. This is something that I've really had to learn on my chronic illness journey. I started out as a passive person 10 years ago, and I would go to the doctor, and if they would say, "Oh, Amy, nothing's wrong, your blood tests are normal," I would say, "Okay, thanks," and I would leave. And inside, I was hurting and confused and frustrated. And even when I got that fibromyalgia diagnosis, I felt confused. I felt unsure. I didn't want to fight for more because I wanted to trust the doctor. I wanted a diagnosis, but I was too scared to bring up my fears. There was a time when I was still dealing with trying to be more assertive and learning a different way of life that I would bring my husband with me because he is much more assertive. He would fight for me, and I'd also bring questions and concerns. I'd write those down beforehand so that we made sure we got all of our questions answered. And now I feel like I can show up to a doctor and say, "This is what I need. Will you help me?" I am assertive. I am confident. Make sure when you are going to these appointments that you have some sort of symptom diary. So just like you want to do your research about different conditions, I would track things. I wish I had done this more at the beginning. I thought a doctor would heal me. I thought I would just go and say, "I'm having these symptoms," and they would tell me what's wrong or do a blood test. That was not the case for me. So what I wish I would have done is keep a symptom log to write down my triggers, write down what times a day things got worse and better, little symptoms that maybe seemed like not that big of a deal that actually could have been a big sign as to what's going on for me. And also be sharing what treatments you've tried and what works for you and what doesn't. Maybe nothing works so far, but share the things that you have been trying. I think a lot of doctors will say you need to eat healthier, you need to exercise. Make sure you share, "Hey, I've been exercising. I have been eating healthy. This is what I eat. This is when my flares happen," and have things tracked, especially if you're waiting for an appointment. That's a great time to track your symptoms and see if there are any patterns that either you can see or the doctor can see. I would also recommend seeking support. I talk about this a lot on my channel, but I think the mental side of chronic illness is the hardest part. We deal with physical pain, depression, anxiety, and frustrations. I can deal with the pain a lot easier. I can handle it. I make better decisions. I'm more assertive. I'm kinder to myself and I'm kinder to other people. So I would recommend seeking support. I do have an online community that we would love to have you come join. We do live calls every single week on different topics surrounding chronic illness, and you can come join anytime or you can watch replays. It's $9 a month. Try it out for a month. There's no commitment. See if you like it. But that is something that has made such a big difference in my journey, is just knowing that I'm not alone and that other people are going through it or have been through it and learning from them. And it also helps because we teach each other. So there's some things that you have that could benefit me and other people in the community. There's other people who can share stuff to help you, and it's just such a great way to share experiences and learn from other people. And I wanted to close by sharing some of the things that I've learned through my misdiagnosis journey. I found that even the wrong diagnoses and even the times where I was dismissed or I didn't get a diagnosis that I needed, or things took much longer than I wish they had, years longer than I thought or wanted them to, I learned so much. I learned about patience, which I struggle with. I learned how to be more assertive and to fight for myself. I learned that my feelings matter, both physically and emotionally, and that I deserve the care that I need. I have become so much stronger, more resilient in this journey. Now, physically, maybe I'm not that strong. I have become stronger. I can do so much with pain now that I never could have done before. I have learned that physical strength, but I've also learned the mental strength. I have gained so much mental and emotional strength. I still have a lot to work on. I'm still a human being and I'm not perfect, but I have made so much progress. And I've learned the importance of patience and persistence. I am a completely different person, although I hope you get your diagnosis as quickly as possible. I also know that for me, honestly, at this point, I wouldn't change the way things happened because it's made me so much more grateful for the diagnosis that I do have. It's made me grateful for maybe the minor inconveniences that bring me relief. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the journey I've had. I've learned so much. I hope you feel a little less alone after this video. If you want more support, the link is down below where you can join my community and talk to me face to face. I would love to hear about your journey. If you have been misdiagnosed or undiagnosed, let me know in the comments, what are your symptoms? What have you been struggling with? What are the emotions that you're feeling with this chronic illness journey? And make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, my friends.